Well, we want to take you now live over to Milwaukee. The Secret Service is giving an update on security measures ahead of the Republican National Convention. They are not answering questions about the incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, though. Let's listen.
Law enforcement and public safety partners work together to design security plans for national special security events. They are designed to be adaptable based on the changing security landscape and most up-to-date intelligence from our partners. We've been working on the RNC security plan for more than a year and have been in constant coordination with our partners and the Republican National Committee. During our extensive planning efforts, we have accounted for various security scenarios that may arise, and we are confident in the plan we have implemented for the Republican National Convention this week. That security plan will remain in place. While we cannot discuss the specifics, means, and methods used for our protective operations, our protective methodology for NSSEs is based on a layered approach that includes support from federal, state, and local law enforcement and public safety partners. We will continue to assess the security environment and adapt our security measures as appropriate. The Secret Service is working diligently with the Milwaukee Police Department, as well as all of our federal, state, and local partners to ensure a safe and secure convention for attendees, volunteers, and the City of Milwaukee. I'll now introduce the Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, Mayor Cavalier Johnson.
Thank you. Several months ago, folks in this room may recall that I worked with a bipartisan group of individuals, both Republicans and Democrats, with one goal in mind: to make sure we have a safe convention for everybody. These national special security events, especially as they relate to the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention, have been stuck at $50 million since 2004. Obviously, things cost a little more than what they did in 2004, and so via phone, via trips to Washington, D.C., and working with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, we were able to get a $25 million increase to our security grant. I say all that to say that we take this matter very, very seriously. We take public safety very, very seriously. And I've been so pleased to work in collaboration, not just with the United States Secret Service, but also with local law enforcement and public safety on the ground here. As was mentioned, we're joined by the chief of the Milwaukee Fire Department, Aaron Lipsky, who's been a great partner. And we're also joined by the chief of Milwaukee Police Department, Jeffrey Norman, who's been a great partner as well, working to bring in law enforcement officers from not just across the state of Wisconsin, but across the United States to help out with public safety here. Let me just reiterate what was already said. This is an NSSE, a National Special Security Event. It is the highest designation that you can get for a security event of its size and magnitude in the United States. We have that designation, and we'll continue to work to make sure that public safety is tantamount here in this community. With that in mind, I'll take the opportunity to pass it over to the Chief of the Milwaukee Police Department, Chief Jeffrey Norman.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. 18 months that these plans have been put into place in regards to what we're going to have for this event. This is a collaboration between federal, state, local, but beyond just from a law enforcement community, this is a collaboration between our elected leaders from both local, state, and also national. But also we have engaged community. We have workings with our community members in regards to ensuring the safety of this event. While we cannot talk about the operational plans, I can say from the CEO of the Milwaukee Police Department, this local police department here, I'm very comfortable in regards to the plans that we have made together. Not in silos, not where we're just kind of going over peruse, actual planning together. As you can see in regards to my fire side, also from the county side in regards to the type of collaboration. The collaboration is real. As the mayor said, this is a national special security event. Can't get any higher than that in regards to that particular type of designation. And so I just want to reassure not only our community, the greater community, those involved at the convention, but also in our city. We got this. We got this. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to move into a brief Q&A. Please just place a hand up. We'll call on you. Please wait your turn. One question, one follow-up. Name your name and outlet beforehand, and we'll get through as many as we can before we have to head out here, okay? So We're going to start right here, down on the left, black t-shirt.
Shimon Brokovets from the CNN Secret Service. I don't understand why it is that you had one of the most significant events in the Secret Service's history occurred yesterday, and no one from the Secret Service has publicly decided to take questions about what happened. You had the FBI today openly giving us an on-the-record briefing about their investigation, but yet we still have not heard from anyone from the Secret Service about what happened, about what the agency knew, about the lead up into the event concerning security. And I just don't understand how anyone would think that that's okay.
So my role in the Secret Service is the RNC coordinator, so that is my purview. Any questions regarding yesterday's event can be directed to our Public Affairs Office out of DC.
Right, I understand that this is the first time that anyone from the Secret Service has publicly even spoken to the media since this happened. There was a press conference last night that the Secret Service was not at. All the state officials, the FBI was there, but yet the Secret Service has been absent. As a result, and he just raises all sorts of questions about why the Secret Service is not willing to answer questions.
So again, I'm the Secret Service's RNC coordinator, so I can speak to the RNC security planning. I'd refer any questions regarding yesterday's incident to our DC Public Affairs Office.
Thank you. Right here at the blue shirt.
Yes, ma'am. Mark Meredith of Fox News. I'm curious, obviously, you don't want to talk about what happened in Pennsylvania. Have you had to change your security posture at all here? And if so, how? Is it a small percent change? Is it looking over everything once again? And then the follow-up question would be, just in terms of resources, I know you mentioned 18 months going into this. Do you feel like you've had all the resources you needed to get to this point today, or do you feel like more will?
So as Mayor Johnson and Chief mentioned, this is a national special security event. That designation is the highest level of security designation that the federal government can determine. So we are confident in the security plans that are in place for this event, and we're ready to go. It's been an 18-month process. We've worked together over that 18 months to develop operational security plans for any and all aspects of security related to this event.
But did it change within the last, has any change been made in the last 24 months?
We're not anticipating any changes to our operational security plans for this event.
Right here in the front in the orange dress.
Mary Spickerson of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers told us a little bit ago that he is calling for the Secret Service to ban firearms, guns in the soft perimeter, not just in my certain form. Is that something that the Secret Service is considering or is doing?
I have not had any conversations regarding that, so I can't speak to that.
Okay. You said that you requested the Secret Service. Do you know if that request was actually made at this point?
I have not had any conversations regarding that, so I can't speak to that.
Right up here in the front, tie suit.
Is the Secret Service currently anticipating or currently planning to expand the perimeter?
We're not anticipating any changes to our current security footprint or plan.
Including allowing firearms into the soft perimeter as it is right now?
Anything in the soft perimeter is outside of our federal jurisdiction.
But why should former President Trump, his family, and the convention goers have confidence in the U.S. Secret Service to secure this site here over the next 4 days after his life was nearly taken yesterday?
So this event has been designated as a national special security event, which is the highest level of security for an event that can be designated by the government. So this is a whole of government approach. We've had an extensive planning process to include many organizations building out the operational security plans for any and all aspects of security related to this event.
Have you had the resources you need?
Yes, we are fully prepared and have a comprehensive security plan in place, and we're ready to go.
Right over here in the front, black shirt.
CBS News. Why are you not expanding the perimeter?
So we're confident in the current plan that we have. It is based off of technical assessments, protective intelligence, and we are continuously monitoring information related to the event. So we're confident in the plans that we have, and we're moving forward with those plans.
And why are you not concerned that people can carry firearms within that soft perimeter?
So again, the Secret Service inner perimeter is our primary jurisdiction, so I would defer any questions related to outside of that zone to my partners here on the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've understood in regards to the inner perimeter, it's the largest inner perimeter that has been part of the convention, to my understanding. Maybe I have to get that clarified. And so that is one important point to be able to understand in regards to what that level of security about what the inner perimeter looks like. In regards to the ability to carry a firearm outside of the inner perimeter, Again, our state law allows for the particular right to carry a firearm. We as a city cannot legislate out of that, and I don't know if our mayor wants to speak on that anymore in regards to that. And so for we, in regards to our law enforcement aspect, we have to operate within those guidelines. Unless it's something that is against state law, we have to respect Second Amendment right to carry your firearm, especially in regards to open carry or carry and conceal if you're licensed. And so that is a, again, issue that we have to navigate. And I will say this, and I've said this many times, as that is your right, please exercise your right in a responsible manner. Please ensure that the behaviors that we would like to see for those with that responsibility aligns with that responsibility. The Milwaukee Police Department will not tolerate any particular behaviors outside of what is legally allowed in regards to that right.
Thank you, Chief. And just to reiterate what the Chief said, local ordinances in the state of Wisconsin do not supersede state law. Wisconsin is an open carry state, and therefore the City of Milwaukee and no other jurisdiction in this state can supersede that state law. Folks should be aware, though, that proactively before the convention gets started, we did take action at the local level to ban items that we could ban. So we used our authority already at the municipal level to take that sort of security precaution that we were able to do. But in terms of banning weapons in the outer perimeter, that is not within our purview because of state law.
Right up here, for sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Danson, the New York Times for the Secret Service. If there haven't been any changes to the overall security plan, have there been changes to the protection plan for the former president, his family, and other elected officials?
So I'm the RNC coordinator, so I can only speak to the National Special Security event. The plans that we have in place will continue as is, and we're confident in those plans.
Right there with the things and glasses. Yes, ma'am.
And that's been for Monica. Are there any new threats to Mr. Trump or the RNC or to protesters? How will you protect protesters?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Hensel. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI for the state of Wisconsin. For your first question, the men and women of the FBI in the state of Wisconsin who work in our 6 offices, along with the assistance of our 56 field offices across the United States, and our domestic and international federal partners, have worked over the last 18 months to take information in, intelligence in, evaluate that information, and then disseminate it to both our state and local partners to address any threats. Currently, there are no known articulated threats against the RNC or anyone visiting the RNC. That's important because we also need the help of the public. If they see something during this time or feel uncomfortable with something, please let us know. Let your local law enforcement agencies know, or the FBI. 1-800 call the FBI.
Can I just follow up? Sorry.
We're going to go ahead and make sure we get other questions first, and we can come back to you. Just hold 1 minute, please. Did you have a follow-up? Okay. Next question? Right back there. Yep.
Hi, Nicole, ABC, for the Secret Service. Just to be clear, did you or did you not make changes to the security plan based on the events of yesterday?
There have been no changes to our current operational security plans for this event.
Why not, given the fact that the former president was the assassination?
So again, this event is designated as a national special security event, so it is an 18-month process that involves all levels of government that are contributing to the operational security plans for this event. So we have an operational security plan that's built out for every area of responsibility related to any and all aspects of security related to this event.
Right here. Yes, sir. With glasses.
Nick Waters with Bloomberg News. So to the local and state officials on the stage, have you made any changes to your plans for this event, bringing in more officers, more intelligence gathering, and anything else as a result of what happened yesterday? We look beyond the Secret Service.
I can just reiterate what I said before in terms of what the City of Milwaukee has done. Our council, in conjunction with me, passed and signed a local ordinance to make sure that there's more protection in the outer perimeter as it relates to officers from across the state of Wisconsin or elsewhere coming in to assist with public safety around this. I defer to Chief Norman.
No change.
So, sorry, so you said make sure there's more protection in the outer perimeter. So what does that look like on the ground?
I'm sorry?
What does that look like on the ground if you police is saying there's no change? What does it look like on the ground if you're saying there's more protection in the outer perimeter?
Some of the ordinance.
So the ordinance that I'm referring to that
All right, we've been listening to the Secret Service, the FBI, Milwaukee Police, that's the mayor of Milwaukee, as well as other officials, all giving updates on the security measures ahead of the Republican National Convention, which officially kicks off tomorrow. The Secret Service said they are not anticipating any changes to their security plans following the attempted assassination on the former president, in part because the RNC already had the highest security designation. Now, one of the challenges that security addressed during this press conference is the open carry laws of the state of Wisconsin. But the chief of Milwaukee Police said he believes that this is the largest inner perimeter of any convention and is, quote, very comfortable with the plans, adding, "We got this." I'm going to bring back in Scott MacFarlane, who is in Butler, Pennsylvania for us. He was there at the rally. He has continued to cover every aspect of this. And Scott, I'm just wondering, you've been listening to this press conference as well. What stood out to you?
Yeah, the Secret Service taking lead on this historic event that begins tomorrow in Milwaukee is expected. It's noteworthy, but it's not lost on the folks here in Butler, Pennsylvania. They were lead on securing the event yesterday that ended in a calamitous failure, a monumental, historic, singular failure at an event with thousands of people, all of whom went through magnetometers, all of whom were screened. To be vulnerable to a shooting is a massive failure. As the investigation's underway here in Butler, Pennsylvania, let me tell you a few of the most recent updates, Lana. We've learned from law enforcement sources the FBI is in possession of the shooter's phone. It's now at the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia. The shooter's family is cooperating with the investigation, and according to law enforcement sources, the firearm used was lawfully purchased by the shooter's family some years ago. The crime scene, which is way behind me on a blocked-off road at a farm festival event space, is almost like it's captured in amber. It hasn't moved. It's caught in place. It is the scene of one of the most distinctive criminal investigations in U.S. history, and everything there is untouched from yesterday. Many of the thousands in the crowd left belongings behind. We left belongings and equipment behind. The enormous U.S. flag that was hung over the stage for Donald Trump to speak beneath is still waving in the wind, hanging there. This is a distinctive spot right now as they investigate the near assassination of a former U.S. president and whatever evidence exists on this farm field in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Well, Scott, unfortunately, as is all too frequent with public shootings like this, those moments are captured there with belongings strewn about, left in time. But I want to go back to what you were saying about the Secret Service and the massive failure at the event yesterday. You could hear from the reporters a bit of frustration, both that the Secret Service has not been briefing on the event in Butler, and we just heard that the representative of the Secret Service stressed those questions need to go to somebody else. I'm just here to talk about the RNC. But then also this, what seemed curious, that there were no changes to any of the security efforts there. Is that surprising?
They're at what they consider the highest threshold of security postures in Milwaukee, as if you can't ratchet it up a notch higher. It's already a national security event with what I think the Secret Service would characterize as the most rigid possible security standards. The Secret Service is not leading this investigation here in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is an FBI investigation, and the Secret Service unequivocally is going to be the subject of investigations by others about how they performed or failed to perform here. We have both parties in Congress who rarely line up on anything saying they're going to launch investigations into what went wrong, how an event that was supposed to be uniquely secure became so insecure. And the Secret Service is now going to be a focal point of these investigations. There were multiple law enforcement agencies there yesterday, and there are here today, local, county, state, but this was the Secret Service's show on Saturday night in Butler, Pennsylvania. and Congress is going to call them forward to answer questions. Even though they're not in session this week, those questions will begin this week.
All right, Scott MacFarlane there for us in Butler, Pennsylvania, having witnessed everything firsthand, still continuing to report for us. We really appreciate you, Scott. Thanks. We have now our law and justice security correspondent Nicole Sganga with us on here in Studio 57. Also one who has been reporting every aspect, every new detail. You were listening to that briefing as well. What are we learning now about the investigation? What are the latest details you can share?
Yeah, well, the FBI did give a briefing earlier today, and we learned a little bit more about how federal law enforcement is piecing through the evidence within this investigation, all of it being sent to Quantico, including the gunman's phone. As of now, investigators have not been able to unlock the phone. They were able to get a hold of some messages. So far, nothing concerning, but still looking through the gunman's social media. We are told he does have a small footprint there, and investigators trying to get to the bottom of what was the motive and confirming that this gunman appears to have worked alone. At this point, no indication that there were others coordinating at all with the gunman here. Law enforcement also saying that there is no current public safety concern. And you did just hear from FBI at that Secret Service briefing as well, saying that the FBI knows of no known articulated threats towards the Republican National Convention. That said, a somewhat shocking statement from U.S. Secret Service that there are no changes to no plans to change, rather, its existing security perimeter.
Because initially we thought that maybe the security perimeter was going to expand.
And even as late, as recently, I should say, as last night, there were law enforcement moving barricades surrounding the Republican National Convention last night. There were indications that perhaps there would be a larger security presence at the event. The Department of Homeland Security sent out a statement suggesting as much. And so this operational briefing, in part, surprising. Now, it is what the Department of Homeland Security refers to as a Tier 1 event. Scott referenced it there. It's a national special security event. That is the highest designation the federal government can give. That means in addition to having local law enforcement there, there are over 24 states sending officers to help bolster the security footprint. It means not only FBI will be there, but there will be Homeland Security investigations. There will be CBP officers. There will be other law enforcement within the federal government bolstering this. And all of this is led by the U.S. Secret Service. They have been planning this for 18 months. That said, we are talking about a historic and singular moment with the assassination attempt of the former president. So it is quite shocking to hear that briefing. And it is, frankly, notable that the U.S. Secret Service has not yet briefed the press on the events that unfolded yesterday.
Yes, but there was a briefing by the FBI. You listened to that. I'm going to play for our audience a little bit of what was said.
And we have several items of evidence that are in the process of being transported to the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, for processing and exploitation, to include the shooter's weapon and his cellular telephone. I can confirm that the gun used in the shooting was an AR-style .556 rifle, which was purchased legally.
So we heard more information about the weapon that was used and the cell phone, as we discussed. How long might it take investigators to actually get information off of that cell phone?
Well, we are standing by for more information regarding how difficult it will be to crack. You heard the president say earlier today he hopes this is a quick and thorough investigation, but right now investigators still unable to open that phone. We should point out, you mentioned the weapon, that AR-style .556. Right now, investigators also trying to figure out whether or not we know, based on tracing of that weapon, that it was legally purchased by the gunman's father. Whether or not the gunman borrowed it, took it, stole the weapon, all of that pointing to possible further charges of the family. We do know the family at this time is cooperating and speaking with investigators.
Fully cooperative, as are others that knew him. We have heard from the nursing home where he worked, the community college, everybody saying that they are shocked by this, but that they are all pledging their full support. All right, Nicole Sganga, thank you.
Thank you.